A man with a 300 IQ, possibly the smartest in history, ended up nearly homeless, helped by people far less intelligent. You'll see him soon, but first, meet the bouncer who outscored even Einstein. He doesn't look like what you'd expect from someone with one of the highest IQ scores in the world. At first glance, Chris Langan seems more like someone you'd see unloading hay bales or guarding a nightclub door. Broad shoulders, square jaw, piercing stare. But behind that tough exterior is a mind that tests off the charts, somewhere between 195 and 210. That's well beyond Einstein territory. So why isn't he a household name in science? Why hasn't he built an empire of patents, or founded a tech giant? The answer is a lot more complicated than just bad luck. Chris was already reading by the age of 3. By age 4, he was reportedly asking philosophical questions that would make adults stop in their tracks. He taught himself calculus, physics, Latin, and Greek, all before he ever saw a college classroom. Teachers often didn't know what to do with him. Some thought he was making things up, others just ignored him altogether. Being brilliant didn't win him any favors. At night he broke up bar fights. By day he developed his own theories about the nature of the universe. He called it the Cognitive Theoretic Model of the Universe, or CTMU. Some say it's pure brilliance, others struggle to make sense of it. The point is, he never stopped thinking. Today he lives on a horse ranch in Missouri with his wife, far from the halls of Harvard or MIT. He still writes, still thinks, still challenges the world from a distance. He doesn't chase recognition, and he definitely doesn't chase wealth. You might expect someone with that level of intelligence to be publishing papers, winning awards, or speaking at global conferences. But Chris Langan built a life on his own terms. Far from fame, far from fortune. This is the kind of guy who rewrites physics while feeding animals in the morning. A man whose brain could compete with entire faculties of scientists, yet you'll never find him in a university lecture hall. It raises the question, what does society really reward? Brilliance or conformity? Because if intelligence alone were enough, this man would have been running a space program by now. Instead, he's more known for breaking up bar fights than breaking scientific ground. And here's the twist, he's fine with it. He's not bitter. In fact, he thinks the academic world is too rigid to handle original ideas like his. Whether he's right or not, one thing is clear. You can have one of the greatest minds of the century and still end up in a job where no one even asks what you're thinking. He was once the child the world couldn't stop watching. The boy who, at just 11 years old, walked through the gates of Harvard, while others his age were still learning basic arithmetic. William James Sidis wasn't just gifted, he was operating on a level no one could understand. Experts guessed his IQ was somewhere around 250 to 300. That's not just higher than Einstein or Hawking, that's in a category of its own. By the age of 2 he was reading newspapers, at 4 he was typing original essays in multiple languages. At 8 he had invented his own language and wrote a book on anatomy. By 11 he was lecturing on 4-dimensional geometry to college professors, and they were taking notes. He was everywhere. Newspapers, magazines, even the dinner tables of curious families. Everyone wanted to know what this boy would become. But instead of turning into the next great physicist or philosopher, he disappeared. And not in the mysterious cloak and dagger kind of way, he just quietly stepped away from everything. Sidis hated fame. He hated how people treated him like a sideshow. Teachers didn't know what to do with him. Reporters followed him, hoping he'd say something wild. And eventually, he just broke away. He walked out of elite academia and into everyday jobs. Small roles at offices, occasional clerk work, anything low-key, not because he couldn't do more, but because he didn't want to play the game. The sad part? As time went on, the world forgot about him. He lived in tiny rented rooms, sometimes switching identities just to be left alone. He wrote thousands of pages on science, history, and philosophy, ideas decades ahead of their time, but he published almost none of it. No one was listening anymore. Toward the end of his life, his situation got worse. He was nearly broke, barely getting by. He avoided help, avoided attention, but quietly accepted kindness from people who had no idea who he was. People who, by most standards, had far less education or intellect than he did. In a strange twist of fate, the man with a brain sharper than nearly anyone in modern history was quietly supported by strangers who might have scored half his IQ. He didn't complain, he just kept to himself, walking the streets in worn clothes, living in cheap rooms surrounded by notes no one would read. To the outside world, he looked like any other man just trying to get through the day. But inside that mind, still galaxies of thought, theories and ideas that the world simply never caught up with. William James Sidis wasn't a failure. He was someone who tried to live by his own rules in a world that rewards conformity over brilliance. His story isn't just shocking. It makes you question how many minds like his have quietly disappeared, simply because they didn't fit into a system built for mediocrity. If someone told you that one of the smartest people alive once worked as a nightclub doorman, stripped on camera and wrote for the Jimmy Kimmel Show, you'd probably think it was a joke. But it's not. That's Rick Rosner, a man with an IQ officially measured at 192, ranking him among the highest ever recorded. Yet instead of lecturing at top universities or running tech companies, he's spent most of his life doing the exact opposite of what you'd expect from someone with a mind like his. Rosner's life looks more like a bizarre comedy script than a scientific resume. In high school, he was so obsessed with perfecting his GPA that he faked his identity and re-enrolled under a new name multiple times, just to get better grades. He was already smarter than most of his teachers, but he wanted the numbers to prove it. That extreme approach to academic perfection, it didn't exactly translate into a high-paying career. Despite scoring off the charts on IQ tests, including some of the world's hardest, Rosner never pursued a traditional path. Instead, he took jobs most high IQ individuals wouldn't even consider. Bouncer, waiter, roller skating waiter, writer for late-night television. But here's the twist. Rick Rosner doesn't regret a thing. He says his odd job choices gave him time to think, time to develop his own theories about the universe, consciousness, and the nature of reality, ideas he's still working on today. He spends hours each day writing and calculating, sometimes more than 20 hours straight. According to him, sleep is optional. Productivity isn't. You'd think someone like this would be published in scientific journals or leading a think tank. Instead, he's best known for magazine interviews, game shows, and appearances on quirky lists of weird geniuses. Despite his brilliant mind, he never quite cracked the system that rewards traditional success. There's a moment where it really clicks, where you realize this isn't just a story about intelligence, it's about how intelligence doesn't always come wrapped in the right packaging. Rick Rosner could probably outthink most engineers, yet the world mostly knows him for being the naked genius or the smart guy who lost on TV. And still, he keeps going, researching physics, rewriting reality, publishing dense scientific theories on obscure forums. Some see him as eccentric. Others think he's wasting his potential. But Rosner doesn't seem to care. He's chosen a path that makes sense to him. One where trivia shows, late-night jobs, and physics papers somehow all exist in the same timeline. And maybe that's the most surprising part of all. One of the smartest people in the world lives in a way that no one would expect. Because that's exactly what gives him the freedom to think the way he does. Paul Erdos didn't own a house, or a car, or even a permanent mailing address. He traveled from one place to another, carrying nothing but a suitcase, a notebook, and a mind that could solve math problems faster than most computers. With over 1,500 published papers, the most of any mathematician in history, Erdos practically lived in the pages of academic journals. But in real life, he slept on couches. This man wasn't just intelligent, he was a walking math machine. His entire existence revolved around numbers, proofs, equations. While most people build careers, families, and homes, Erdos built a legacy out of pure collaboration. He would show up at a colleague's door, unannounced, and say, "My brain is open." That was his way of starting a math session. No small talk, no pleasantries. Just a whirlwind of abstract thinking that could go on for days. What's fascinating is that he didn't care at all about status or wealth. He gave away most of the money he earned from prizes or speaking gigs. He didn't even cash many of his checks. For him, math was a lifestyle, not a career. He wandered across countries, from one university to another, borrowing beds and desks and chalkboards, always hunting for the next theorem to crack. Despite being one of the most brilliant minds of the 20th century, Erdos had almost nothing to his name. And he liked it that way. He believed material possessions got in the way of creativity. No property to manage, no bank accounts to worry about, just math. All the time. His habits were just as unique as his lifestyle. He worked 19 to 20 hours a day, slept only a few hours at a time, and communicated using his own quirky vocabulary. He called children epsilons, men slaves, and women bosses. He saw the world through formulas and patterns, and nothing else seemed to interest him. And yet, with all his genius, Erdos remained somewhat outside the mainstream. He never married, had no fixed job, and no permanent institution behind him. While his name is legendary among mathematicians, entire concepts like the Erdos number are built around his collaborations, the general public has barely heard of him. So how does someone that smart end up drifting through life like a traveler without a map? The truth is, Erdos chose it. He valued ideas over comfort, thoughts over things, and maybe that's what made him so special. He didn't need recognition to do great work. He just needed a pen, paper, and someone to bounce ideas off of. It's almost strange to think that a man who connected the math world like no one else, who influenced thousands of researchers, never stayed in one place long enough to put his name on a mailbox. But that was Paul Erdos, the brain that never stopped moving, and the body that was just along for the ride. Nathan Leopold could speak over half a dozen languages by the time he was a teenager. He read Nietzsche for fun. At just 18 he was already publishing papers in ornithology and had a mind that professors said rivaled their own. His IQ? Estimated above 200. He was on track to become one of the great scientific thinkers of his time. But instead of rising to the top, Leopold threw it all away, in a way that stunned the world. In the early 1920s, Leopold was studying at the University of Chicago, preparing for Harvard Law School. He was young, charming, brilliant, and obsessed with power. That's when he met Richard Loeb, another wealthy student who shared his hunger for control and superiority. Together, they decided to commit what they believed would be the perfect crime, not out of desperation, not even for money. They wanted to prove they could outsmart everyone, including the police. The plan? Kidnap a teenager, collect ransom, and then disappear without a trace. But it all fell apart. They left behind a pair of glasses, which led investigators straight to them. The crime shocked the country, not just because it was horrifying, but because the two responsible were supposed to be geniuses. The trial became a national spectacle. And in one of the most famous courtroom moments in American history, attorney Clarence Darrow helped spare them from the death penalty. Leopold was sentenced to life plus 99 years. His fall from brilliance to infamy was complete. This young man, who once translated ancient texts for fun and was fluent in 12 languages, was now inmate number 9301, confined to a prison cell. But even in prison his intelligence didn't fade. He organized the prison library, taught classes, volunteered in the hospital ward, and even participated in medical research. He was allowed to read constantly, and he did. Thousands of books. Pages filled with the same kind of knowledge that once gave him so much potential. After 33 years behind bars, Leopold was released. But his life never returned to normal. He moved to Puerto Rico, worked in a hospital, kept to himself. The world had moved on. He died quietly, far away from the fame and scandal that once followed him. By day, Henry Darger pushed a mop through hospital corridors. He swept floors, emptied trash, folded laundry, a quiet figure no one really paid attention to. Just another janitor in worn clothes with a faraway stare. But when he returned to his tiny one-room apartment, something completely different came to life. Because Henry Darger was living in an entire world of his own creation. One so detailed and vast it could rival Game of Thrones or The Lord of the Rings. For decades, no one had a clue. Darger was quiet, reclusive, rarely spoke to anyone. He ate simple food, owned almost nothing, and barely left his neighborhood in Chicago. But behind the locked door of his cramped room, he was writing what would become one of the longest-known works in existence. Over 15,000 pages of handwritten story, complete with hundreds of illustrations, all done in secret, all while working low-wage janitorial jobs. The story? A surreal fantasy epic titled The Story of the Vivian Girls, set in a strange, dreamlike world torn between war and innocence. His drawings, some of them 10 feet wide, were filled with colorful battle scenes, hybrid creatures, swirling clouds, and childlike figures in imaginative landscapes. He used pencil, watercolor, collage, and repurposed old magazines to create art that was both beautiful and disturbing. And no one saw any of it while he was alive. He didn't show his work to neighbors, he didn't try to get published, he just created it for himself, page after page, year after year. The level of commitment is almost unbelievable. Most people don't even keep a journal, let alone invent an entire universe by hand with no promise of reward or recognition. It wasn't until Darger was in his 80s, just before being moved into assisted living, that his landlord discovered the treasure hidden in that small apartment. Imagine walking into what you thought was just another tenant's room, and finding a personal museum of art and storytelling that had never seen the light of day. His landlords, stunned by what they found, eventually helped bring his work to the world. Today, Henry Darger is considered one of the most important outsider artists in history. His work has been exhibited in major museums, studied by scholars, and celebrated around the world. But while he was alive, no one knew. He died in near poverty, with no idea that his imagination would one day hang on gallery walls in New York and Paris. What makes his story so gripping isn't just the contrast between his day job and his secret world, it's the mystery of how someone with no formal art training, no access to influence, and no encouragement still built something that massive and detailed, completely alone. Henry Darger proves that genius doesn't always come with spotlights or applause. Sometimes it lives behind closed doors, silent, persistent, and overlooked. Until one day the world finally opens the door and sees what was there all along. George Dantzig showed up late to class. That's how his story begins. He rushed into his statistics lecture, saw 2 math problems on the blackboard, copied them down, and assumed they were homework. They looked tough, but he took them home and worked on them for days. A few weeks later his professor showed up at his door, wide-eyed, stunned. The homework wasn't homework at all. They were 2 of the most famous unsolved problems in statistical theory. And Dantzig had just solved them. No fanfare, no dramatic soundtrack, just a quiet genius doing what he thought was an assignment. George Dantzig later laid the foundation for something you interact with every day. From airline scheduling to online deliveries to financial modeling. He invented linear programming, a field that changed how companies and governments solve logistical nightmares. His algorithms became the quiet backbone of modern industry. Yet unless you're deep into mathematics or operations research, chances are you've never even heard his name. While other scientists grabbed headlines, gave TED Talks, or appeared on TV, Dantzig stayed in the background. He published papers, he taught, he kept working. No big tech company took him on as a figurehead. No social media platform celebrated him with flashy quotes. Instead, his life's work got baked into the systems running behind the scenes. Critical, brilliant, and practically invisible. He wasn't a recluse. He just didn't chase fame. And the world didn't chase him either. He received awards, sure, but nowhere near the level of recognition someone with his impact should have earned. The man who helped unlock solutions to global problems quietly retired, lived modestly, and passed away without ever becoming a household name. It's almost unbelievable. One of the most influential minds in math, a man who literally changed how the world functions, lived and died without public celebration. It makes you wonder how many other geniuses are hidden behind the walls of everyday life, solving problems no one else can but never making it onto the cover of anything. Michael Larson didn't rely on luck. He relied on patterns. In 1984 he appeared on the TV game show Press Your Luck and did something no one had ever seen before. He won $110,237 in a single game, an amount so huge that the producers had to take a commercial break in the middle just to figure out if everything was even legal. It was. And what made it all the more shocking was how he did it. Larson was an out-of-work ice cream truck driver from Ohio. He didn't have a degree in mathematics or a background in tech. What he had was a VCR, a sharp memory, and an obsession with detail. Watching the show from home, he noticed the flashing game board, which was supposed to be random, actually repeated a set of patterns. He recorded episodes, slowed them down frame by frame, and memorized the safe spots. When his turn came, he didn't miss. For over an hour, he hit the same 2 squares over and over. The ones that awarded money and spins but never whammies. The audience went wild. The host was visibly rattled, but Larson was calm, focused, and absolutely unstoppable. He didn't just beat the game, he exposed its flaw. After intense review, the producers had no choice. He followed the rules, fair and square. The check was his. But the victory was short-lived. Within months, the money was gone. Larson invested in get-rich-quick ventures that turned sour. He lost nearly everything and drifted into a quiet, unstable life. Eventually he disappeared from the public eye entirely. He passed away years later with little to his name. The man who had once outwitted national television using nothing but intellect ended up far from the spotlight. A genius with no empire, no fortune, and no second act. Just one moment of brilliance that shook the system and then faded into silence. You've taken photos on your phone, everyone has. It's second nature now. Point, click, share. But have you ever wondered who came up with that idea? Not the phone, not the camera phone. The ability to instantly snap a photo and send it across the world. That revolutionary idea didn't come from Apple, Samsung, or Nokia. It came from a man named Philippe Kahn, and almost no one remembers him. It happened in the late 1990s in a maternity ward. Kahn's wife had just gone into labor and he wanted to share the birth of their daughter with friends and family in real time. But there was no easy way to do that, so he got to work. Using a digital camera, his Motorola phone and some code he'd written himself, he connected the devices with a bit of hardware hacking and software wizardry. Then he took the first ever photo and instantly sent it to hundreds of people. That moment, one man, one photo, no team, no budget, was the birth of the camera phone. It would go on to reshape not only tech but how humans record their lives. News, selfies, revolutions, all of it now lives through that tiny lens. And yet, the guy who started it all is barely mentioned in the history books. Kahn didn't wait for a patent. He didn't build a product or pitch it to a major corporation. He just kept moving. He was already a known tech innovator. He created the first software for syncing mobile devices with PCs, built early wearable tech, and even contributed to some of the earliest concepts of cloud sharing. But time and again, others jumped ahead of him, packaged the ideas, and took the spotlight. While major companies spent billions to market themselves as pioneers, Kahn stayed mostly behind the scenes. He's the classic genius in the background, always a few steps ahead, but never the one holding the microphone. Even when people tried to credit him, tech headlines often moved on before the public noticed. Today, Kahn still works on tech projects, mostly in the wellness and AI spaces, far from the front pages. He's successful, no doubt, but not in the way that history tends to reward. His name isn't carved into Silicon Valley monuments. You won't find him on a list next to Steve Jobs or Elon Musk. And yet every time you snap a picture on your phone, you're using a spark of his invention. His story is a reminder that changing the world doesn't always make you famous. Sometimes it makes you invisible. And sometimes, the ones who shape the future the most are the ones history nearly forgets. Imagine a world where groundbreaking inventions vanished, not because they failed, but because they were too powerful. This flying saucer-like machine, designed by a forgotten genius, was built to achieve anti-gravity flight and speeds beyond imagination using clean, limitless energy. Instead of praise, the inventor was silenced and the machine disappeared. Some say governments saw it as a threat, others blame powerful industries protecting their profits. Whatever the reason, the technology was buried and its creator forgotten, leaving us to wonder, what did they fear? This is just one invention that vanished, but it's not alone. Around the world, other groundbreaking technologies were silenced before they could change history. Let's explore them. Imagine a world without power lines or tangled cables, where lamps, phones, and cars all hum to life without wires. Over a century ago, Nikola Tesla believed this was possible, and he started building it. In 1901, Tesla constructed Wardenclyffe Tower on Long Island, a massive structure designed to transmit electricity wirelessly across vast distances. Energy would float invisibly through the air, accessible to everyone for free. But before Tesla's dream could become reality, his funding was cut and the tower was dismantled. Here's where things get suspicious. Tesla's main investor, J.P. Morgan, pulled the plug when he realized wireless power meant no meters, no profits, no control. Some believe energy monopolies conspired to bury Tesla's work because it threatened their empires. Others claim Tesla's notes and blueprints were seized and locked away in classified vaults. What if Tesla's vision wasn't just forgotten but stolen? The Wardenclyffe ruins still stand today, a haunting reminder of a future we never got. A future where energy flows through the air, just as Tesla imagined. In the late 19th century, an inventor named John Ernst Worrell Keely stunned the world with a machine that defied explanation. Known as the Keely motor, this device supposedly harnessed an unknown force, what Keely described as etheric energy, to produce unlimited mechanical power. Imagine a motor that ran without fuel, without steam, and yet churned with incredible efficiency. At public demonstrations, Keely's machine lifted massive weights and operated complex machinery, leaving crowds and scientists speechless. But as Keely's fame grew, so did the skepticism. Some accused him of fraud, others feared he was tapping into forces best left untouched. Here's where it gets mysterious. Keely never revealed the full workings of his motor, and after his death in 1898, the device disappeared. Some say powerful industries, oil, coal, and manufacturing, saw his invention as a threat and moved swiftly to suppress it. Was Keely a genius whose discovery was too dangerous for the world, or just a brilliant showman? One thing is certain, the Keeley motor vanished, and with it the promise of clean, limitless energy that could have reshaped history. Fast forward to the 20th century, and the story takes a familiar turn. In the 1970s, a man named Stanley Meyer developed an engine that could run on water. That's right, water. Meyer's technology split water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen using electrolysis, creating a fuel-efficient system where cars could drive hundreds of miles on a single gallon of water. The implications were earth-shattering. No gasoline, no emissions, no dependence on oil. Meyer demonstrated his water fuel cell to investors and the media, and his claims sparked both excitement and skepticism. But just as his breakthrough started gaining momentum, things turned dark. Meyer died suddenly in 1998, allegedly after a meeting with investors. Officially, it was ruled a brain aneurysm, but his brother swore Meyer had been poisoned. The fuel cell disappeared, and critics called it a scam. But what if it wasn't? What if Meyer's invention worked and posed too big a threat to the trillion-dollar oil industry? Today, his water-powered car remains an unsolved mystery, a symbol of progress stopped dead in its tracks. While Meyer's water-powered car promised freedom from fossil fuels, another energy breakthrough emerged in the 1980s that could have rewritten the rules of energy production: cold fusion. Unlike the blazing temperatures of traditional nuclear fusion, cold fusion was a low-energy process that claimed to produce massive amounts of clean, limitless power. It was first announced in 1989 by electrochemists Martin Fleischmann and Stanley Pons, who stunned the world with their claims that they'd unlocked a cheap, safe way to harness nuclear energy in a lab. For a moment, the world held its breath. If cold fusion worked, it would end the energy crisis, reduce pollution, and eliminate our reliance on coal, oil, and gas. But things quickly unraveled. Mainstream scientists couldn't replicate their results, and the pair were ridiculed, their careers effectively destroyed. Conspiracy theories swirled. Did energy corporations bury cold fusion research? Were governments afraid of its implications? Yet to this day, whispers of cold fusion persist. Laboratories around the world still experiment with it quietly, claiming intermittent success. Could it be that Fleischmann and Pons were right all along, and cold fusion remains one of the world's greatest suppressed breakthroughs? The truth remains as elusive as the energy itself, but one thing is clear. When humanity comes too close to a limitless power source, there are forces that prefer we don't touch it. What if you could store the entire contents of a library on a single floppy disk? This was the claim of Jan Sloot, a Dutch inventor who, in the late 1990s, developed what he called the Sloot digital coding system. Sloot promised revolutionary data compression so efficient that just 8 kilobytes, yes, kilobytes, could hold a full-length movie. Imagine the implications: instant file transfers, unlimited storage, and a technological leap that would leave today's cloud systems in the dust. Sloot presented his invention to investors, who were stunned by the demonstrations. It seemed impossible, and yet it worked. But before the deal was finalized, tragedy struck. On July 11, 1999, just one day before handing over his source code, Jan Sloot died suddenly of a heart attack. His coding system vanished, and with it, the potential to revolutionize the digital age. Was it simply coincidence, or did Sloot's invention threaten too many powerful interests? To this day, conspiracy theorists argue that his coding breakthrough didn't disappear. It was buried, and we're still being forced to live in the shadow of what could have been. From digital miracles to gravity-defying mysteries, we now arrive at one of the strangest cases of suppressed technology: Viktor Grebennikov and his alleged anti-gravity platform. In the 1980s, Grebennikov, a Russian entomologist, discovered something extraordinary while studying insect wings. Certain beetles, he claimed, had microscopic structures that interacted with electromagnetic forces in ways science couldn't explain. Inspired by nature, Grebennikov built a device that he said could levitate, an anti-gravity platform capable of flight. According to Grebennikov, the platform was silent, fast, and seemingly immune to inertia. He described soaring above fields and villages, experiencing strange distortions of time and space. Yet no physical evidence of the platform remains. Skeptics dismissed Grebennikov as delusional, but his detailed notes, diagrams, and insect studies raise questions. Was he tapping into a natural form of anti-gravity technology? If so, why was his work ignored or dismissed? Some believe his discoveries were quietly confiscated, hidden away by those who feared the consequences of accessible free flight. If Grebennikov was right, his platform could have rewritten not just the laws of physics but the way we move through the world. And now, we return to Nikola Tesla, a man so far ahead of his time, his inventions often bordered on the unbelievable. Among his most infamous claims was the development of a death ray, a particle beam weapon capable of obliterating targets hundreds of miles away. Tesla called it the Teleforce and described it as a defensive weapon that could end all wars. The world, however, wasn't ready to believe him. In 1934, Tesla revealed he had perfected the concept, but he struggled to find a backer. Then, after Tesla's death in 1943, the US government swooped in and seized all of his notes and research. Officially, the death ray never existed, but strange experiments continued during World War II and beyond, with reports of secret projects hinting at particle beams and directed energy weapons. Some believe Tesla's research was appropriated and classified, while others think it was lost forever. But Tesla wasn't the only one. Other inventors allegedly explored similar concepts. Did Tesla crack the code for a weapon that could reshape geopolitics forever? Or did his genius threaten a balance of power so fragile that it had to be erased? But what happens when science reaches beyond the physical realm, when inventors claim to communicate with the dead? That's exactly what Thomas Edison set out to do. Thomas Edison, the man behind the light bulb and phonograph, had one more invention up his sleeve, a device that could speak to the dead. In the 1920s, as spiritualism swept the world, Edison became intrigued by the idea of communicating with spirits. Unlike seances and Ouija boards, Edison approached the idea scientifically. He believed the human body was made of tiny life units that carried on after death, and if they existed, why couldn't we capture their presence? Thus, he began developing the spirit phone, a machine designed to detect and amplify the faint signals of spirits. While Edison was careful about publicizing his work, he spoke of the spirit phone in interviews, claiming it was close to completion. But then, nothing. After his death in 1931, the device disappeared. Was it unfinished, or had Edison created something so bizarre it had to be hidden? Skeptics dismiss the spirit phone as myth, but believers speculate it was suppressed by those who feared its implications. Imagine if Edison had succeeded, if technology allowed us to pierce the veil between life and death. Would it have been a comfort or a curse? We'll never know, because whatever Edison uncovered vanished along with him. Not all forbidden breakthroughs are about machines or energy. Sometimes they involve something as simple and as controversial as a vitamin. Two-time Nobel Prize winner Dr. Linus Pauling believed that high doses of vitamin C could treat cancer, boost immunity, and even extend life. In the 1970s, Pauling's research showed that vitamin C therapy improved outcomes for terminal cancer patients, a claim that stunned the medical world. But Pauling's findings were met with ridicule. Pharmaceutical companies and mainstream medicine pushed back hard. After all, if a cheap, widely available vitamin could combat cancer, where did that leave the multi-billion-dollar chemotherapy industry? Clinical studies appeared, seemingly debunking his work, and Pauling's reputation as a scientist suffered. Yet, many independent researchers and patients still swear by vitamin C therapy, and modern studies hint at its potential. Was Pauling onto something revolutionary? Or was his work buried to protect the profit-driven status quo? To this day, the debate rages on. It's a reminder that sometimes the simplest cures are the hardest to accept. And then there's Dr. Royal Rife, a man whose invention was so groundbreaking it might have changed medicine forever, if it hadn't been silenced. In the 1930s, Rife developed a machine that used specific frequencies to destroy cancer cells. At the heart of his work was the Rife microscope, a device that could magnify cells far beyond what was thought possible, allowing Rife to observe viruses and bacteria. He discovered that by tuning his machine to precise frequencies, he could shatter pathogens, much like an opera singer breaking glass. Rife's early trials reportedly cured patients with advanced cancer. Word spread, and in 1934, a group of doctors observed his success. But soon after, everything fell apart. Medical authorities accused him of fraud, his lab was raided, and his equipment confiscated. Rife's career crumbled, and his cancer-curing machine was dismissed as pseudoscience. Was Rife's work truly flawed, or did it pose too great a threat to the pharmaceutical giants? Today, Rife's technology has resurfaced in alternative medicine, but the question remains, was his invention a miracle, suppressed before it could save lives? Water covers 71% of our planet, yet billions of people face water scarcity every day. Why? Because most of Earth's water is trapped in oceans, salty, undrinkable, and seemingly useless. But what if there were a technology that could turn seawater into fresh, clean drinking water without massive costs or energy consumption. Rumors persist of a free energy water desalination system invented decades ago that promised to solve the global water crisis. Using minimal energy, often pulled directly from renewable sources, this system reportedly used advanced methods like electromagnetic resonance or solar hydrogen processes to purify water instantly. So why isn't it being used today? According to some researchers, the technology was quietly suppressed. The ability to generate fresh water on a large scale, for free or next to nothing, would undermine entire industries. Bottled water corporations, energy providers, and governments that profit from scarcity. Imagine if every village, town, or home could access unlimited clean water straight from the sea or even the atmosphere. No more droughts, no more profits from desperation. Some claim prototypes exist but are locked away in labs or hidden by those who fear its consequences. The truth remains elusive, but one thing is certain. If such a breakthrough exists, it could reshape life on Earth as we know it. While modern science chases answers, ancient civilizations may have cracked secrets we still don't understand. Enter the concept of pyramid power, the idea that the geometric precision of pyramids can harness and amplify energy. It sounds like science fiction, but reports dating back centuries suggest that pyramid structures exhibit bizarre properties. Sharpening razor blades, preserving food, accelerating plant growth, even mummifying organic material, all claimed effects of pyramid energy. Some researchers believe the Great Pyramids of Egypt were more than tombs. They were giant energy generators, harnessing electromagnetic fields from the Earth itself. In the 20th century, inventors began experimenting with pyramid replicas and claimed remarkable results. Soviet scientists in the 1970s studied pyramid structures and recorded odd phenomena: increased electrical charges, changes in atmospheric ionization, and even health benefits in animals exposed to the pyramids. But as interest grew, mainstream science dismissed it as pseudoscience, and funding for further studies evaporated. Could it be that the ancients stumbled upon a form of free energy hidden in geometry, a force we've yet to understand? If so, were the pyramids the ultimate lost power plants of humanity, their secrets buried under sand, stone, and time? No one understood the raw power of vibration better than Nikola Tesla. In the 1890s, he created a device no bigger than a shoebox, the mechanical oscillator. This simple-looking invention produced precise vibrations that Tesla believed could power machinery, transmit energy, and even influence the Earth itself. Tesla claimed that, during one test, he accidentally triggered small earthquakes in New York City. The oscillator shook his lab, rattled windows in nearby buildings, and sent him scrambling to smash the machine with a hammer before it caused more damage. But Tesla wasn't just playing with tremors. He believed his oscillator could unlock the planet's natural resonance and harness it for energy. Think about it. The Earth vibrates like a massive drum, and tapping into that energy could provide infinite power. However, the potential to control vibrations also raised darker possibilities. What if such a device could be weaponized to destabilize buildings, bridges, or even entire cities? Tesla's work on the oscillator disappeared, and he took its full secrets to his grave. Did he abandon it because he feared its power? Or was it confiscated and hidden away by those who saw its potential for destruction? Either way, Tesla's oscillator remains one of the most tantalizing and terrifying what-ifs of modern science. What if life itself could be created in a lab? In the 1830s, an eccentric British scientist named Dr. Andrew Cross stumbled upon something truly bizarre while experimenting with electricity. Working at his estate, Cross aimed to crystallize minerals by passing electrical currents through solutions. But what happened next left him, and the world, stunned. Small, insect-like creatures emerged on the surface of his apparatus, alive and crawling. These organisms, which he named Acarus, appeared seemingly out of nothing. Cross hadn't introduced them intentionally, nor could he explain their origin. Had he discovered a way to create life through electricity? Word of Cross's findings spread quickly, but not without backlash. The public accused him of playing God, and rumors of witchcraft ran rampant. Scientists of the time struggled to replicate his results, and Cross's reputation as a respected experimenter crumbled under the weight of controversy. Some believe his discovery challenged long-held beliefs about biology and life's origins, leading it to be dismissed outright. Could Cross have unknowingly tapped into a process far beyond his understanding, a glimpse into artificial life powered by electricity? Whether miracle or mistake, his work remains an eerie chapter in scientific history, hinting at possibilities we still struggle to comprehend today. In stark contrast to Cross's accident with life, another genius would invent something extraordinary on purpose. You may know Hedy Lamarr as a Hollywood star, one of the most glamorous actresses of the 20th century. But behind her beauty was an exceptional mind. During World War II, Lamarr and composer George Antheil developed a system called frequency hopping. The idea? A secure communication technology where radio signals rapidly shifted frequencies, making them nearly impossible to intercept or jam. Initially designed to guide torpedoes, this invention laid the groundwork for modern technologies like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS. But here's the twist. The US Navy ignored Lamarr's invention during the war, dismissing it as impractical. Some speculate sexism played a role, with the military refusing to take the work of a glamorous actress seriously. For decades, Lamarr's contribution remained buried, her patent forgotten. By the time the technology resurfaced and changed the world, she'd received little recognition. Was her idea too revolutionary for its time, or was it ignored because of who she was? Lamarr's story reminds us that brilliance can come from the unlikeliest places, and that sometimes, those who change the world are the ones history overlooks. From inventions that transformed communication, we move to a discovery that defied the very laws of chemistry. In the mid-20th century, French scientist Louis Couvreur proposed something extraordinary. Living organisms could transmute elements. Picture this. Chickens laying eggs with calcium shells despite eating food with little to no calcium. Couvreur believed they were converting potassium into calcium through low-energy nuclear transmutation inside their bodies. To most scientists, this sounded impossible. Nuclear reactions were supposed to require extreme temperatures, massive energy, and cutting-edge technology, not the humble biology of plants and animals. Couvreur spent decades gathering evidence, documenting examples in nature where elements seemed to transform. But instead of praise, he faced harsh rejection. The scientific community dismissed his findings, branding them pseudoscience. Yet his theories fascinated researchers in alternative energy and agriculture. What if nature had found a way to manipulate elements without high energy, something modern science has yet to replicate? If Couvreur was correct, his work could revolutionize agriculture, medicine, and material science. Could it be that his findings challenged too many established norms, leading them to be swept under the rug? What if we could pull energy straight from the cosmos, limitless power flowing freely, waiting to be tapped? In the early 20th century, American inventor Henry Moray claimed to have done just that. Using a device he called the radiant energy receiver, Moray demonstrated the ability to extract energy from what he described as the sea of energy surrounding the Earth. His machine, no larger than a tabletop radio, reportedly powered lights, motors, and heaters without a single drop of fuel. It required no wires, no solar panels, and no external input, just the invisible energy of the universe itself. Naturally, this raised eyebrows. Investors and scientists were captivated, but skeptics demanded proof. Moray performed live demonstrations where his device produced consistent power for hours, yet the full details of its construction remained a secret. Then the trouble started. Moray's lab was broken into, prototypes were sabotaged, and his work was repeatedly dismissed as impossible. Did Moray truly discover a way to harness free, limitless energy? Or did his invention threaten powerful energy industries that rely on keeping the world plugged in? Today, Moray's device remains one of history's most tantalizing what-ifs. A glimpse of a future where energy could flow as freely as air. Imagine walking into a room and seeing a Cybertruck floating in midair. No wheels, no suspension, just hovering, like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. Sounds crazy, right? Well, in December 2024, Tesla actually made it happen, sort of. Musk's latest gadget isn't a full-size flying car, yet. It's a magnetic levitation Cybertruck model. A small-scale version of the iconic electric pickup that hovers over a base using powerful electromagnetic fields. It's not just a gimmick. This is a hint at something much bigger. Elon Musk has been teasing a flying car for years, and this levitating Cybertruck model might be the first step toward that future. If Tesla can make a mini Cybertruck float effortlessly, why not scale it up? Musk himself has hinted at a real flying vehicle, possibly equipped with jet turbines, magnetic propulsion, or even SpaceX-inspired thrusters. It's not just about making cars fly for the fun of it. A Tesla flying car could revolutionize urban mobility. Think about it. No traffic jams, no stoplights, no roads needed at all. Instead of spending hours stuck in gridlock, you could zip through the sky, reaching your destination in minutes. It's the kind of innovation that could change transportation forever. Driving as we know it might be on its way out. Tesla's full self-driving or FSD system isn't just about making cars autonomous, it's about removing humans from the driver's seat entirely. And that's where things get really interesting. Right now, Tesla's FSD is already capable of navigating city streets, highways, and even handling complex intersections. It uses a neural network, trained on millions of real-world driving miles to predict and react to traffic. The idea is simple. Cars that learn, adapt, and eventually drive better than people. No distractions, no fatigue, just pure machine efficiency. But the real game-changer? Tesla's upcoming robo-taxi fleet. Musk has been planning a network of self-driving taxis that could eliminate the need for personal car ownership. Instead of buying a car, you'd just summon a Tesla whenever you need one, and it would drive itself to your location. That means cheaper rides, fewer accidents, and no more sitting behind the wheel. Of course, there are obstacles, regulations, software improvements, and public trust. But if Tesla pulls this off, human-driven taxis and ride-sharing services could become obsolete. This is more than just a new feature. It's a glimpse into a world where car ownership might not even make sense anymore. And speaking of making cars disappear from the roads, what if, instead of flying, they went underground? If Musk doesn't get cars into the air, he'll take them underground instead. The Boring Company is working on a high-speed tunnel network that could make city traffic completely irrelevant. The idea sounds simple. Dig tunnels, move cars faster, avoid traffic. But what makes this project so futuristic is the way it's done. Unlike traditional tunnel projects that take years and cost billions, the Boring Company is developing smaller, cheaper, and much faster drilling machines that can dig tunnels at a fraction of the cost. The goal? A network of underground highways where Teslas and eventually other autonomous vehicles can zip through dedicated high-speed lanes. Las Vegas already has a working prototype, the Vegas Loop, where Teslas transport passengers beneath the city at speeds of up to 35 miles per hour. But Musk envisions something much bigger. Future tunnels could connect entire cities, moving cars at over 150 miles per hour, or even work alongside the Hyperloop concept to transport people and cargo at hypersonic speeds. What's so cool about this? First, no more sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic. Second, it uses less space than roads or bridges, meaning cities could be redesigned with more room for people instead of cars. And third, it's a step toward fully automated urban transportation, where cars drive themselves underground and surface only when needed. A car company building robots might sound like science fiction, but Tesla is doing exactly that. Optimus, Tesla's humanoid robot, is designed to handle repetitive and dangerous tasks, eventually replacing human labor in factories, warehouses, and even homes. What makes Optimus different from other robots? First, it's built using the same AI and vision systems that power Tesla's full self-driving cars. That means it can see, learn, and adapt to its environment. Unlike industrial robots that are stuck in one place, Optimus is fully mobile, walking, lifting, and even interacting with objects in real-world settings. The latest prototype can pick up objects, fold clothes, and even perform simple assembly tasks. But the long-term goal is even more ambitious. Musk envisions a future where Optimus can handle household chores, assist the elderly, or even be a personal companion. Imagine having a robot butler that never complains, never gets tired, and is always ready to work. Of course, this is still early-stage technology. The current Optimus moves slowly and lacks the dexterity of a human hand. But if Tesla can refine the AI, make the hardware more efficient, and lower production costs, humanoid robots could become as common as smartphones. The key? Mass production. And that's where Tesla's fully automated factories come in. Tesla isn't just changing the way we drive, it's reinventing the way cars are made. The company's gigafactories are already some of the most advanced in the world, but Musk's ultimate goal is a fully automated production system, where robots handle nearly every part of manufacturing. Right now, Tesla's factories are filled with robotic arms assembling cars, but humans still play a major role in quality control and logistics. The future version of these factories? Minimal human intervention. Machines will build, test, and even transport vehicles from one assembly stage to another, without human hands touching a single part. This is possible thanks to AI-driven automation, self-learning assembly lines, and next-gen robotics, including Optimus. Musk has hinted that future versions of Tesla's humanoid robot could work alongside machines, handling tasks that are too delicate or complex for traditional industrial robots. The impact of this could be massive. Fully automated production means lower costs, faster output, and near-perfect precision. It also means factories could run 24/7 with no downtime, churning out cars, batteries, and even robots at an unprecedented scale. But it's not just about efficiency. Tesla's gigafactories are also leading the way in sustainable manufacturing, using solar power, recycled materials, and energy-efficient processes to reduce environmental impact. Imagine a future where massive robotic assembly lines build cars without pollution, waste, or delays. Self-driving cars and humanoid robots wouldn't be possible without insanely powerful AI, and Tesla has built its own supercomputer to train it. Enter Dojo, Tesla's custom-built machine designed to handle one of the world's largest AI training workloads. Most companies rely on off-the-shelf chips from NVIDIA or AMD, but Tesla decided that wasn't enough. So, they built Dojo, a completely custom AI training supercomputer designed to process the massive amounts of real-world data Tesla cars collect every day. This data includes millions of miles of driving footage, road conditions, pedestrian behavior, and traffic patterns, all fed into Dojo's deep learning models to make Tesla's full self-driving smarter. What makes Dojo different? First, it's not just powerful, it's efficient. Tesla designed custom AI chips that deliver unmatched processing power per watt, making Dojo faster and more energy efficient than traditional supercomputers. Second, it's designed specifically for vision-based AI, meaning it can train Tesla's self-driving neural network at an incredible speed. But it doesn't stop with cars. Musk has hinted that Dojo's AI capabilities could expand beyond autonomous vehicles, powering Tesla's humanoid robot Optimus, and even being used in medical, scientific, and industrial applications. This is where things start to feel futuristic. AI that doesn't just power self-driving cars, but eventually helps robots learn faster, optimize energy grids, and even assist in medical research. And speaking of the future of human-AI integration, Musk's other project is taking things to the next level by connecting computers directly to the human brain. If Tesla's AI is making cars smarter, Neuralink is trying to make humans smarter. This startup, also founded by Musk, is working on brain implants that can link human minds directly to computers. Sounds like sci-fi? It's already happening. The idea is simple but groundbreaking. A tiny chip implanted in the brain can read, interpret, and even stimulate neural activity. At first, Neuralink's goal is medical applications, helping people with paralysis regain movement, allowing amputees to control robotic limbs with their thoughts, or even restoring vision to the blind. But Musk's vision goes beyond medical use. He believes brain-computer interfaces could one day merge humans with AI, allowing us to communicate with machines without speaking, typing, or even using our hands. Imagine controlling your phone, playing video games, or even browsing the internet, just by thinking. Neuralink's latest trials have already shown real results. Their device has been implanted in paralyzed patients, allowing them to move a cursor on a screen using only their thoughts. The next steps? More advanced implants, better precision, and eventually, a world where humans and computers are seamlessly connected. Of course, there are big ethical questions, privacy, security, and the risks of hacking a brain. But if Neuralink succeeds, it could redefine what it means to be human. In a world where Tesla's AI is teaching cars to drive and robots to work, Neuralink is working on something even more profound, upgrading the human mind itself. Charging an electric car still involves plugging it in, but not for long. Tesla is working on wireless charging technology, eliminating cables and making EV ownership even easier. Imagine parking your car in your garage or at a charging station and having it charge automatically. No cables, no effort, just pure convenience. Wireless charging for cars isn't new, but Tesla's approach could make it mainstream. Using inductive charging pads, Tesla plans to let its vehicles charge by simply being parked over a power source embedded in the ground. This means your car could charge while parked at home, at work, or even at stoplights, ensuring you always have enough battery without ever plugging in. And it's not just about convenience. Tesla is also working on next-generation batteries that charge faster, last longer, and are more efficient. Their 4,680 battery cells, already in production, store more energy, improve range, and reduce manufacturing costs. These new cells could push Tesla's cars past 500 miles per charge, making range anxiety a thing of the past. But what about charging on the go? Tesla has hinted at solar-powered charging, where cars can passively gain energy from the sun. This could mean solar-integrated panels on vehicles or ultra-efficient solar charging stations. And speaking of solar power, Tesla's solar roof and battery storage systems are already leading the way. Tesla doesn't just make cars, it wants to power your entire home. The Tesla solar roof is an innovative system that replaces traditional roofing materials with solar panels disguised as shingles, allowing homes to generate their own electricity without bulky solar panels. Unlike standard solar panels that sit on top of a roof, Tesla's solar roof is the roof. Each shingle is a mini solar panel designed to look sleek while converting sunlight into energy. The idea is simple: turn every home into its own power station, reducing dependency on the electric grid and cutting energy costs. The real game changer is Tesla's Powerwall, a battery system that stores excess solar energy, letting homeowners use solar power even at night. This means complete energy independence, no blackouts, no spikes in electricity prices, and no reliance on fossil fuels. Tesla's solar technology isn't just for houses, it's being scaled for businesses, factories, and even entire power grids. With solar panels, battery storage, and AI-driven energy management, Tesla aims to revolutionize how we produce and consume electricity. The combination of wireless car charging, next-gen batteries, and solar-powered homes could lead to a future where energy is clean, free, and available everywhere. A world where your car, house, and even city run on pure sunlight and stored energy, without ever needing a gas station or a power plant. And Tesla is working to make that future happen sooner than you think. Tesla's tech is changing the world, but it's not the only game in town. From holograms to new energy breakthroughs and other mind-blowing inventions not made by Elon Musk. What's next? You're about to find out. Screens might be on their way out. Holograms and AR are turning digital content into something you can interact with in midair. Companies like Microsoft, Magic Leap, and Light Field Lab are developing ultra-realistic three-dimensional projections that don't need VR headsets or glasses. Imagine video calls where people appear right in front of you, product ads floating in the air, or digital assistants you can see and touch. Medical students are already using AR to study anatomy on virtual human models, while architects design buildings with life-size holograms before laying a single brick. But it's not just about visuals. Holograms could replace keyboards, monitors, even TVs. Instead of carrying a laptop, you might project a full workspace from your pocket. And as this tech improves, it might feel as natural as using a smartphone, just without the screen. While electric cars get all the hype, hydrogen might be the real game changer. Unlike batteries, hydrogen fuel cells refuel in minutes and provide a longer range. That's why companies like Toyota, Hyundai, and Honda are pushing hydrogen-powered cars, while Airbus is developing zero-emission hydrogen jets. The concept is simple. Hydrogen is converted into electricity, and the only byproduct is water. No emissions, no long charging times. Trucks, buses, and even trains are starting to adopt this tech, solving one of the biggest issues with electric vehicles: charging infrastructure for long-distance travel. The biggest challenge? Hydrogen production is still expensive and refueling stations are rare. But with new ways to generate hydrogen from renewable sources, this technology could power not just cars, but entire cities. And speaking of changing industries, even food is getting a futuristic upgrade. Meat without animals. Sounds weird? It's already here. Companies like Upside Foods, Wild Type, and Good Meat are growing real chicken, beef, and even fish from cells in a lab. No farms, no slaughterhouses, just pure protein without the environmental cost. This isn't fake meat, it's biologically the same as traditional meat, but grown in bioreactors instead of inside animals. The result? Clean, antibiotic-free protein with a fraction of the land and water use. Singapore was the first country to approve lab-grown chicken, and the US is now allowing limited sales. If production scales up, this could completely change how food is made. Imagine burgers, steaks, and sushi that taste the same, but don't require mass farming. Whether it's a sustainable breakthrough or just a luxury food trend, one thing is clear. The way we eat is about to change forever. Farming is moving upward, literally. Instead of sprawling fields, food is now being grown in high-tech, stacked layers inside urban warehouses. These vertical farms use LED lighting, hydroponics, and AI to grow crops faster, with 90% less water and no pesticides. Companies like Plenty, Aero Farms, and Bowery Farming are leading the way, turning abandoned buildings into automated food factories. AI controls light, temperature, and nutrients, ensuring optimal growth without unpredictable weather or soil issues. Tomatoes, leafy greens, and even strawberries are thriving under these perfect conditions. This isn't just about convenience. Vertical farming could help feed cities without long supply chains, reduce food waste, and even grow fresh produce in deserts or space stations. And speaking of the future of transportation, food won't be the only thing soaring. Flying taxis are on the way too. Traffic jams might become a thing of the past. Electric vertical takeoff and landing, or eVTOL aircraft, promise to turn gridlocked commutes into quick, quiet flights. Companies like Joby Aviation, Archer, and Lilium are already testing air taxis that take off like helicopters but fly as efficiently as planes. Unlike traditional aircraft, eVTOLs are fully electric, producing zero emissions and minimal noise. They could transform short-distance travel, taking passengers from downtown to the airport in minutes instead of hours. Some models are designed for personal use, meaning the dream of a flying car is closer than ever. The biggest challenge? Air traffic control and battery efficiency. But as cities adapt and technology improves, flying vehicles could be as common as ride-shares. Of course, powering all these futuristic machines requires a revolution in energy, and that's where fusion power comes in. Imagine unlimited clean energy. No fossil fuels, no radioactive waste, just pure power. That's the promise of nuclear fusion, a process that mimics the sun's way of producing energy. Scientists have spent decades chasing this breakthrough, and now it's closer than ever. Projects like ITER, Commonwealth Fusion Systems, and Helion Energy are developing reactors that can sustain fusion long enough to generate electricity. Unlike traditional nuclear power, fusion doesn't create harmful waste and can't cause meltdowns. A single glass of water could provide enough fuel to power a home for a lifetime. The challenge? Sustaining the extreme heat needed for fusion reactions. But with recent breakthroughs in supermagnets and plasma control, commercial fusion power plants could arrive within the next 2 decades. When they do, cheap, limitless energy could change everything, from the way we power cities to the way we fuel electric aircraft and high-tech farms. Building a house usually takes months, sometimes years, but 3D printing is flipping the script. Massive robotic arms layer concrete, clay, or even biodegradable materials to create entire homes from scratch, cutting labor costs, material waste, and build time. A house that once took half a year to construct, now it can be printed in just days. Companies like Icon, Mighty Buildings, and Cobot are leading the charge, designing affordable, durable, and customizable homes. Some cost as little as $10,000, and unlike traditional construction, they produce almost no excess material waste. These homes are not just cheaper, they're also stronger and more energy efficient, with designs that can withstand extreme weather conditions. Beyond affordable housing, 3D printing is being tested for disaster relief shelters, military bases, and even space habitats. NASA is already working on 3D printed structures for Mars, meaning this technology could one day build homes on other planets. Faster, cheaper, and futuristic, 3D printing is set to redefine construction forever. Going to the doctor for checkups might soon be a thing of the past. Wearable health monitors, AI-driven diagnostics, and implantable sensors are transforming the way people track their health, in real time, from anywhere. Instead of waiting for symptoms, these devices can detect problems before they even start. Smartwatches like the Apple Watch, Fitbit, and Withings ScanWatch already measure heart rate, oxygen levels, and even detect irregular heartbeats. But newer tech is taking it even further. Continuous glucose monitors allow diabetics to track blood sugar without finger pricks, while smart rings like the Oura Ring monitor sleep, recovery, and stress levels. Even more futuristic? Tiny implantable chips that monitor internal health. These can track things like blood pressure, hydration, and even early signs of disease, sending instant alerts to your phone. AI-powered systems are also being developed to analyze health data and predict medical conditions before they become serious. With more powerful sensors and AI, people might soon have a full medical lab on their wrist or inside their body. No waiting rooms, no guessing, just real-time health insights that could save lives. That's about it. Write in the comments which invention surprised you the most. For more useful information, watch other videos.